Sejam bem-vindos à ESECTV, um magazine cultural sobre a cidade de Coimbra, produzido pela Escola Superior de Educação. Durante a próxima meia hora, estão convidados para uma agradável conversa com Gary Burton, o histórico vibrafonista de jazz americano. A convite de Sandro Norton, o vibrafonista Gary Burton marcou a 14ª edição dos Encontros Internacionais de Jazz em Coimbra. Em conversa com a ESECTV, Gary Burton partilhou um pouco do seu percurso musical e das suas paixões. Incentivado pelo pai, começou por aprender piano, mas depressa descobriu a paixão pelo vibrafone. Com um estilo totalmente pessoal, a sua notável técnica de tocar vibrafone, utilizando 4 baquetas, uma técnica que é conhecida como Burton Grip e que o tornou mundialmente famoso, permite-lhe construir texturas únicas e de grande sofisticação. Tocou com músicos históricos do jazz como Chick Corea, Pat Metheny, Stan Getz e Keith Jarrett. Gary é músico, investigador, professor e encorajador de novos talentos, e foi numa das suas aulas que conheceu o guitarrista português Sandro Norton. Convosco, o quinteto de Sandro Norton, com os convidados Gary Burton e Maria João.
Fly High é um disco que é uma viagem cultural a imensos estilos de música diferentes. E a ideia de convidar não só a Maria João, mas também o Mário Barreiros, o Carlos Barreto, o João Salcedo e o Luís Trigo, foi precisamente para eles personificarem esta mesma viagem. O Gary foi meu professor. Quando acabou o curso, eu mostrei o meu trabalho ao Gary, dizer, olha, estou prestes a ir para estúdio para gravar o meu disco, e depois, basicamente, quando acabei de gravar o disco, enviei-lhe o CD, e ele disse que estava uma ótima produção, e eu lancei o barro à parede, queres vir fazer uns concertos comigo, o que é que tu achas da ideia de tocarmos juntos? E gostou bastante, e pronto, cá está.
did the Burton grip change the portrait of jazz? Do you believe that you are the Lionel Hampton or Red Norvo of the 21st century?
Maybe so. Maybe I am seen as a pioneer on the vibraphone. Certainly there were players like Lionel Hampton and Red Norvo who came before me, who were the first people to introduce it to the public. But if you think about it, when I started playing as a child, the instrument was only 20 years old. It was still a very new thing. And that left a lot of things to be discovered. And I was lucky I was in the right place at the right time. I sort of discovered a new way to play with 4 sticks instead of 2. And I wasn't the first to try it, but I was the first to really, let's say, perfect it and turn it into a very popular way of playing the vibraphone. Now, it's called the Burton grip, but I didn't name it that. Other people did, and I'm still embarrassed even when somebody says, tell us about the Burton grip. It was just the way I've kind of taught myself to play. It allowed me to transform the vibraphone from a single line melody instrument like a horn, playing just one note at a time, to allowing me to play chords the way a pianist does or a guitar player does. And because of that, I can use the vibraphone in a lot more ways. I can play by myself and sound complete. In fact, that was my motivation in the beginning. I grew up in a small farm village, and when I was little and young, I played alone most of the time. And it sounded too incomplete, too empty. And I said, I need harmony. I want it to sound, more like real music. So I kept figuring out ways to play more chords and turn it into a piano-like instrument. That's one of the things I like about the way jazz has evolved over the years. It started out as an American, popular music 100 years ago, and now it's pretty much around the whole world. There are jazz groups, jazz schools, wonderful jazz players just about anywhere you go. In Portugal, my experiences here, I've played in Portugal maybe 8-10 times over my career. Always felt the audiences here were used to the music. They seemed to be knowledgeable. Some places you go and it's like the audiences are kind of looking at you like, okay, is this it? What's this about? It's a little mysterious. I had that experience in China. Portugal, the audiences seem very informed. And this is my first chance to actually perform with Portuguese musicians. And I'm enjoying it very much.
My fingers can touch the sky. My hand in your hand. Bouquet of flowers. Never forever.
A Maria João é uma mais recente amiga, sou mega fã do trabalho dela, sempre quis e tive vontade de que ela fizesse parte dos meus projetos e da mesma maneira que eu falei com o Gary, também peguei no telefone e falei com a Maria, olha, tenho este álbum, tenho isto, estou a tocar com estes músicos, este é o meu projeto, gostaria imenso que fizesses parte de... E ela ouviu a música, gostou da música e quis fazer parte de...
Quietly, your mouth touches mine, whispering softly, you are all I
There's some degree of spontaneity in all music, but in jazz there's even more variety because we're making up a lot of what the music includes. We're making up the melodies, one of the basic elements of a musical performance. And naturally it's different every night. And we don't know when we go out to play, is this going to be one of the best nights, you know, in the last 2 months, or is it going to be an okay night? And that's part of what keeps us coming back to it and keeps trying. Every night we think we may get that high, you know, thing where everything seems to go perfectly. Jazz itself, the future is always changing. The biggest change that happened starting maybe 30 years ago was that instead of having one predominant style of jazz, I mean, if you look at the early years of jazz, there was the swing era, there was the bebop era, there was the cool era, there seemed to be one dominant style that most musicians played and most fans followed in each period of jazz. Something happened starting in the 1960s. The jazz audience got big enough that it started breaking into more separate groups, and there was room enough for more than one style. And so now it's more diversified, which has been very healthy. And new things in jazz come from experimentation by individual musicians. You know, all of a sudden, some guitar player out in Seattle, you know, finds a style that nobody's really heard before and it becomes popular. Or a band leader like Miles Davis back in the 1950s decides it's time for a real drastic change and instead of having jazz be very complicated and busy, came out with a record called Kind of Blue, where every piece was very simple and peaceful, and everybody said, wow, who would have thought you could do this? And that became, you know, a major sea change in the jazz world. That will keep happening going into the future. Jazz always reinvents itself.
19 fui para Londres estudar, fui fazer uma licenciatura em guitarra, fiz um mestrado em composição, depois fui músico de estúdio, gravei para imensos artistas, comecei a trabalhar com o Jethro Tull, trabalhei com a orquestra de jazz, a Nigel, em Londres, depois fui trabalhar com o Guino Matias, que é um produtor que trabalhou com o James Brown. Depois fui estudar para os Estados Unidos, com o Perry Harris, com o Gary Burton, e tenho sido músico de estúdio e de sessão nos últimos 10, 15 anos. Eu tenho certos grupos e certos projetos de música diferentes. Eu penso na concepção e na música que eu quero transmitir com aquele projeto, imediatamente penso nos músicos e faço um projeto. Normalmente dou 15, 20 dias para preparar um projeto, para chamar os músicos, para fazer os ensaios e para pôr a banda na estrada.
Teaching is an extension of being a performer. Some of us have a strong motivation to pass on, our experience. Especially in jazz, this is true. You're always getting help from somebody above you all through your career. Even when you think you're as far along as I am, I still have moments where somebody I'm playing with gives me some advice that I hadn't thought of before, and I feel like I've learned another thing. So to me, they go together. I can't imagine just being a teacher. I guess I could be just a player, but I would miss some parts of the teaching. I still teach.
So, a musician never retires?
Well, it depends. Some do. I think I will at some point because I don't want to be that typical very old musician who no longer can play very well, but keeps going anyway.
E o próximo tema que vamos tocar chama-se Remembering Time, da autoria de Gary Burton.
The first two concerts have gone really well, Lisbon and Porto, and good turnout and very enthusiastic audiences, and the musicians have done a terrific job. They're really excellent players, so we're playing some tunes that are from my repertoire and a lot of songs from Sandro's repertoire, and we tried to pick things that we're from different cultures. We have a tango to represent Argentina. We have a Jobim tune or no, it's not a Jobim. It is a bossa nova though, to represent Brazil. We have something from Spain. And of course we have some compositions by Sandro that are representing Portugal. This also I thought was a great idea, a great concept. Our last concert is at Coimbra, and looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be just as much fun as the others.
Assistir a uma viagem musical e a banda, aquilo que eu mais gosto é da união que existe entre os músicos e o saber ouvir. Todos os músicos que estão ao palco sabem ouvir, logo torna o concerto muito mais fácil, não só para o ouvinte, mas também para o próprio músico.
Hoje ficamos por aqui, mas deixamos o convite para nos acompanharem já na próxima edição, com mais surpresas da nossa escola e da cidade de Coimbra. Até lá, podem acompanhar-nos online através dos nossos canais e redes sociais. Obrigado pela vossa companhia.